do, I hope it's okay if I say this, her presentation that she did at DEMA, and I heard it went great. So I'm excited for you guys to get a taste of that, and then us kind of get the opportunity to be able to talk with her and ask questions. So that being said, I'll go ahead and pass it to Autumn and her get started.
Right on. Let's see. Let me go back and share my screen here since I learned that I actually can. That's exciting. Love it when technology works. Okay, well, as Mimi mentioned, I love a dialogue. So if you have questions, feel free. You do not need to wait till the end. Just jump on in, say, hey, wait, go back to that previous slide. Let's chat about this one. Always good on that side. So we're going to chat about coral care and the next generation of reef safer sunscreens, but also what do we mean by reef safe or reef safer in our case. So that is the topic of the evening. Very briefly, I'm Autumn Blum. I'm a cosmetic chemist. I've been formulating natural skincare for almost 30 years now. I've also been an avid diver all of my life. My daddy was a NAUI instructor, and my superhero as a kid, I used to clean the algae off the bottom of the pool with a little pony bottle. So I think that started when I was about 5 years old. Don't tell the NAUI gods that be, because they would have been really cranky about that. But I have always loved breathing underwater, and anything involving the ocean is my happy place. I am very proudly in the Women Divers Hall of Fame and also board member for Reef Renewal USA. So coral is kind of my jam. And again, cosmetic chemist. So the way that this started, just briefly, I had a skincare company that I started right out of undergrad. I studied chemistry in college and started a little skincare company. It grew like crazy. And in 2009, is that right? I think so, ish. I sold it to a publicly traded company, and I was working for them. That was the first time in my adult career that I had a little bit of extra time, a little extra money. So what does a girl do? She goes diving. And I was diving in Palau, which was, if you haven't been, it's top of the bucket list. Save up your dough, really long flight, maybe take some Xanax on the way, but it is an amazing, beautiful, incredible dive destination. It was the healthiest reefs and prettiest water I had ever seen growing up in the Keys. It was just absolutely spectacular. And I'm coming up from this dive. And as I get closer to the surface, I'm coming up with my safety stuff. I'm like, oh, look, there's a rainbow. It must have been raining. And as I get closer, I'm like, crap, that's not a rainbow. It's an oil slick. And it was coming off a group of snorkelers. So there was this group of snorkelers that you could just see the sheen emanating off of their bodies. And I realized it was from their sunscreen. This is before anybody started talking about what was reef safe. It wasn't a buzz yet. But I get on the boat and I grab the nearest bottle and I start reading the ingredients. And I had spent the last 15 years making products for the health food industry. And I knew there wasn't a health food store in the world that would agree that this was safe for our bodies, let alone put it into this absolutely pristine, beautiful environment that I loved. I look over and there's one of my friends showering on the back of the dive boat. You know, these Garnier Fructis pearlescent fragrant suds running right overboard. And I'm envisioning Nemo down there, just like, ah, save me, right? By the time I came back from that trip, I'd written the business plan for Stream2Sea. And the key difference at that point is I knew how to make products that wouldn't hurt a child's skin, burn a baby's eyes, hurt somebody with eczema or psoriasis. My prior company was all natural skincare for people with really bad skin. So I knew how to do that. But how do you make something that's not going to hurt fish or coral? Doesn't exist. Nobody's talking about it. There's no data to support what I wanted to do. So I contracted with my alma mater, Eckerd College. They have an ecotox department and started formulating all these beautiful natural skincare products and sent them off for aquatic toxicity testing, which was a really hard decision to make because Leaping Bunny standards, I don't test on animals. Fish and coral are animals. I'm testing on them because I have no way to look you in the eye and tell you that something is going to be safe without actually having some data. So I made this beautiful product line. I sent it off for testing. I had complete and utter failure. My first product line that would have passed every natural standard out there killed every fish in the tank. I cried like a little girl, went back to the drawing board, completely different formulation strategy. And I learned that just because something is safe for you and me does not mean that it's safe for our waters. Ultimately, I came up with an entire product line that did pass all of our aquatic toxicity standards. So that's a brief history of Stream2Sea, how we started. That was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Time flies too fast. Before we really go into the sunscreen science, I want to start with a little history of medicine. Background, I consider myself an herbalist as well. I've spent a lot of time studying herbal medicine, Ayurvedic, particularly the traditional healing method in India. And I think about back in the early days, you have a toothache, you go to the medicine man, and he says, here, chew on this root. Fast forward into a little more modern times, 1000 AD, the root's heathen, say this prayer. Moving on to the modern times, the 1800s, they say the prayer is superstitious and they tell you to drink the potion. A little bit further, the potion is snake oil. Take this pill. Moving into the 1950s and the Industrial Revolution and modern pharmaceutical world, the pill's ineffective. Take this drug. And today, I think we're all aware that the drug has some pretty significant side effects. And there's an awful lot of us chewing on the roots again, right? So I think that something similar is starting to happen in the sunscreen world too, and I encourage it. If you look at the history, as long as humans have been walking this planet, they have had a sordid affair with the sun, finding various ways to protect themselves from it. The ancient pharaohs in the pyramids, they actually document different ways that they were using sunscreen, primarily rice bran and jasmine mixed with mud. And the really cool thing is today, we're using rice bran and jasmine because they're actually really effective UVA absorbers. They're excellent for countering some of the oxidative damage. The geishas, the Japanese geishas actually use like a mercury paste to help protect the whiteness of their skin. That one's not quite so safe. We're better off with the mud. Moving on, in the 1930s, a German mountaineer, German scientist, chemist, went mountaineering and got horrifically sunburned. He came back and formulated the first commercial sunscreen, which was called glacial paste. And it was a combination of petroleum jelly and zinc oxide. Became wildly popular with surfers and mountaineers. And that was the traditional white paste that they would put on their noses. And it did protect them from getting sunburned, but also left them all acneed up. You get big old zits whenever you use it. A couple more decades in the 1950s, a Swiss scientist developed the first chemical-based sunscreen for the automotive industry. It was very effective at protecting the paint on the cars, and they found out that they could use it as an effective chemical-based sunscreen for your body as well. I would like to say that it really should have stayed on your cars, not on your body, but it did do a good job at not making you burn and not making you look pale face, as that really cute advertisement from Coppertone put out, but that was the first chemical-based sunscreen. So one of the things I like to point out to people, typically in modern medicine, when you find a cure to a disease, the increase of usage of the cure usually doesn't parallel the rate of the disease itself. At some point, the rate of the disease and the cure, those lines should cross. That has not happened in the sunscreen world or with skin cancer melanoma. The usage of sunscreen is growing at a tremendous rate, along with the incidence of melanoma and skin cancer. I would like to say that maybe it's broken and maybe we're going about it the wrong way. There are many toxicologists and endocrinologists and such that are starting to question the safety of the chemical-based sunscreens, and I think that's a really good direction that they should be questioning. So moving on into sunscreen usage, we've all been told apply sunscreen, apply sunscreen, apply sunscreen. And when you think about it, maybe apply a little bit more. Don't even dare go out in the sun without having your sunscreen on. Sunscreen pollution, as one of my favorite ecotoxicologists, Dr. Craig Downs, likes to say, is a symptom of unsustainable tourism. Where you have people, you have sunscreen, and where you have lots of people in sunscreen, you have pollution from it. It is detected, it is known, and it is dangerous and hazardous. There are literally thousands of studies at this point showing that these ingredients are harmful and are toxic to the aquatic environment. It's no longer up for debate. When I started Stream2Sea in 2014, nobody was talking about it. In 2015, Dr. Craig Downs published the first study that showed that sunscreen ingredients, particularly oxybenzone and octinoxate, in concentrations as low as 62 parts per trillion, that's the equivalent of 1 drop in 6 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That is the minimum amount that is required to render coral larvae inert. And what happens when when the larva doesn't populate or settle on the substrate? Well, when you don't have any babies, the ecosystem dies. And that's pretty much what we've been seeing happen. So there's now literally thousands of studies showing various marine species, dolphins, turtles, all the way down to like the phytoplankton and microalgae are all being affected. And these ingredients are being detected in environmentally relevant concentrations throughout our ecosystem. So what happens then? What did I say that was? That was 2015 when those studies came out. I launched in 2014. We had just finished our studies showing that our products actually were safe for fish and were safe for coral larvae. Divers started paying attention, and we are the advocates and the voices for the sea. We're pretty noisy. Places that that rely on the reefs for tourism paid attention and started banning toxic sunscreens. And it's really interesting, every single place in the world that has reviewed the science, not the marketing, not the lobbying activities, every place that has reviewed the science has voted to enact a ban. I was fortunate to testify in a few of these. I was in Hawaii, Key West. Palau we're the national sunscreen of Palau, the Virgin Islands. The only real exception to that is Key West. Key West did vote to enact the ban, but the state of Florida preempted the ban, saying that it wasn't legal for the constituents to ban something that is so widely accepted in our state and accepted, I would say, lobbied and produced. Lots of money is made on chemical-based sunscreen in our state, so I don't see that ever being banned. But Key West did vote to ban it. It was just overruled. So because of all the noise, I believe, in 2019 and 2020, the FDA commissioned their own studies to determine if these things, well, they're not safe for the reefs, what are they doing to our bodies? Well, 2019, the FDA commissioned its MUST trial, maximum use for safe concentration. And the idea behind the trial was to take a couple of people and replicate how much sunscreen you put on your body and would be absorbed into your body on a typical family vacation. So you're supposed to reapply sunscreen 1 ounce per full body application, and you're supposed to reapply every 80 minutes. At the end of, and they were going to do this for 1 week and detect your blood serum levels throughout the course of the week and see what level was in there. At the end of the first day, they had to stop the trial. Why? Because the amount of chemicals that were absorbed into the bloodstream exceeded the amount that they could presume was safe without proof showing its safety, which does not exist. These ingredients have been on the market for a good long time, but there's been no human safety studies to show what are these ingredients doing inside of our bodies. We don't know. So move on from there. So after that, the FDA removed the generally recognized as safe and effective designation from, let's see, there's 14 ingredients. For 12 of the ingredients, the FDA removed that designation, only allowing titanium dioxide and zinc oxide to maintain that level because they don't get absorbed into the body. They sit on top of the skin and reflect the radiations that are working inside your body. So zinc and titanium are generally recognized as safe and effective. FDA calls on industry saying, please provide some of the safety and substantiation data to allow these to stay on the market. They gave them a deadline. Deadline was 2020. What happened also 2019, 2020? COVID, CARES Act. CARES Act included a sunscreen provision that basically eliminated industry's requirement to provide the safety data. So they're still on the market and they still haven't provided the data, and business as usual, right? So there's now a push for more deregulation for the sunscreen industry. One of the things that I'm hearing, social media influencers, which are directly related to the sunscreen industry and lobbyists paid, is saying that these poor Americans were so woefully unprotected because we don't have the same sunscreen ingredients that are freely allowed in other parts of the world. Other parts of the world where sunscreens are regulated as cosmetics, not drugs. The reason they're drugs is because we know they work inside of our body. They don't differentiate between the physical sunscreens and the chemical sunscreens, the UV absorbers versus the UV reflectors. So they're regulated as drugs in the US, they're regulated as cosmetics in Korea and Europe and such, where you don't have to prove human safety standards because they assume that it's not going in your body. We all know better, and the FDA proved that these do work inside of our body, and you do have to have the substantiation. I believe we're going to see further deregulation and more chemical sunscreen actives are going to be approved within the next year because there's a lot of money to be made for it. And I like to say innocent until proven guilty. I don't really think these should be innocent until proven guilty. And there's, besides the human health safety side, they haven't proven environmental safety side. So moving on from that, that's kind of my political soapbox that I jump on occasion. I try to avoid politics in our world, but when it comes to CARES Act and sunscreen chemicals, I'm like, bring it on. Come on, let's talk about it. Okay, so Stream2Sea was created on the premise of do no harm. I wanted to create the absolute safest product line for our bodies and for our planet. So our kind of tagline is safe for you and safe for our blue planet. We did a full range of aquatic safety testing, including fish, coral larvae, C. elegans, the full range. And that was 10 years ago. So now going into our 10th year, I had somebody ask me, instead of doing no harm, can you actually do good? Like, could you make something that's actually good for the waters, good for coral? And I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of a cool idea. So I go out to Ken Niedermeyer and all these other coral scientists and people that are growing coral for a living. And I'm like, what do you feed them? What do you give coral? Like, if you're going, how many people have done outplanting? Raise your hands, you're all blind. Okay, so I'm assuming that quite a few of you have done coral outplanting. And what they do is they get these frags, and you want to outplant the strongest, most hardiest, linebacker fragments. We want to put those out on the reef. How do we do that? How do we make them strong? Well, apparently we feed them coral nutrients. So I get all these coral nutrients and I bring them into the lab, and half of them smell like dead fish. The other half didn't. I'm not going to use one to smell like dead fish. So I take those and I throw them into our original sunscreen that's tested and proven safe. And that was the concept behind Coral Care. So we now have this concept, right? I have this product. Can it work? Will it work? I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, I'm going to play a real quick little video for you. Tell me, Randy, you're the only one that I can see. So tell me if you can hear it. If not, I think there's some other setting that I need to do, but we're going to assume that it's going to work. Takes a second for the sound to come on.
When we talk about
Can you hear
threats
it?
to our oceans and marine
I can
life,
hear it.
we often forget one of the most deadly: tourists. Lawmakers passed a bill Tuesday banning sunscreens that contain two specific chemicals that are believed to cause harm to marine life and coral reefs. Every year, over 14,000 tons of sunscreen wash off us and into the sea, with over 80% of brands containing chemicals that are lethal
Oopsie, I clicked on something.
for coral reefs. While some have removed chemicals from their sunscreens, Stream2Sea wanted to do more. So what if we turned the source of this invisible problem into the solution? Introducing Coral Care. In a world first, we partnered with leading marine and cosmetic technicians to create a sunscreen that's not only safe for coral, it actually feeds it. To a base formula that excluded all harmful ingredients and passed extensive aquatic testing, we also added a unique blend of marine nutrients proven to nourish coral and went into 6 months of coral testing. We discovered that Coral Care can boost healthy coral growth 50% more than the world's leading reef-safe sunscreens, and an incredible 21% more than Mother Nature alone. To take this initiative to the world, we also created a whole new classification. Not just SPF, but RPF, a way of identifying sunscreen that truly cares for coral, and a mark that hopefully someday all sunscreens will have to carry. At launch, with product sampling, social media activity, and global PR, we saw an incredible response.
When I first heard about Coral Care, I got really excited about how something could be changed from a negative to a positive.
Coral Care is now going global, partnering with government and tourism companies to help turn the tide on coral's future.
The world needs more concepts and products like Coral Care.
Coral Care with RPF, the little tube of sunscreen with enormous potential for change.
Pretty cool, right? Oh, wait. You don't need to hear it
Autumn,
again.
that's awesome. Before you move on, I already do have some questions for you.
Cool.
So one, you talk about these So before we even get to coral care and back to these newer ingredients, the worst ingredients, hopefully everyone's using Stream2Sea anyway, which I have to say, I just went to a trip in the Springs with a whole group from Tennessee. Shout out to Easy Divers. They all had Stream2Sea, and they were even thinking about it in the Springs and not just the ocean, which is kind of funny. People convince themselves, oh, this is supposed to be just for the ocean and helping the reefs and the corals there. But them using it in the Springs around the seagrass, I thought that was awesome. And then just in my travels themselves, kind of seeing Stream2Sea literally all around the world. So first off, I just want to say that's amazing and super cool. It's super cool. Every time I see it, I'm just like, wow, people care. It gives me like hope for life. So that being said, um, although we hope everyone's using Stream2Sea, I'm sure there's a handful of us that still have older sunscreens in our cabinets that maybe we thought were reef safe, but we're not sure. Do you have a list on your website with those bad ingredients we should definitely be looking out for so we're not wasting what we already have, but hopefully moving Stream2Sea too?
Yeah, so Mimi, I love everything that you just said there. So first off, the company Stream2Sea, when I started it, reef safe wasn't a thing. It wasn't words. Nobody said the words reef safe. And the whole idea of Stream2Sea was all streams lead to the sea, right? It's freshwater resources, saltwater resources, the seagrass, like you said, the mollusks, the oysters, the whole ecosystem is so sensitive and fragile. And in some of my other trainings, we talk about all of the things that are affecting our blue planet. And I mean, you can get real fatalistic real quick, but I'm also a believer that small changes can have a big impact. And everything that you can do that's a step in the right direction, not only should you, you're kind of obligated to. If we know that something's bad and we have the ability to do better, we need to, right? So thank you. That's whether you're in the streams, whether you're in the springs, you need to be using safe products. So to address your next question, do we have a list? Yes, we have these wonderful little ingredient to avoid cards, and I usually have 100 of them right around me. It's on the back of our business cards, but you can download them on our website. We can send them to the dive center. You should have a whole stack of them. If you don't, we'll send them to you. We give them out by the thousands. But it's a
Okay,
little
awesome.
cheat sheet. And on the back of it, it gives a list of like the top eco hazards. So marketing is rampant. It's when you have a sunscreen, what's on the front of the bottle is so loosely regulated, but what's on the back is really pretty well regulated, right? Unless you're totally a tiny company and flying under the radar, you have to follow what's on the back. You have to disclose all those ingredients. And I'm seeing things like butyl salicylate, avobenzone, octocrylene, all of these ingredients in products that are being marketed as reef-friendly, Hawaii compliant, and some of them even reef safe. And it's just crap. I mean, it's such crap. So you take this little ingredient to avoid card, flip it over, just use it as a scan. If it's got any of those ingredients in it, no. And then people say, hey, what should I do with this product? I bought it thinking that it was reef safe, and I was wrong. What should I do with it? And I'm like, why don't you put it in an envelope and send it to the CEO of the company? That'd be kind of fun. Like with a little note saying, do better, right? Do better, because we want them to be doing better. And the consumer
Yeah.
drives change. Anybody that doesn't believe that they have a voice, I'm here to tell you, the consumer drives what we all do. And fortunately, in my case, my consumers are our best advocates. You guys are the ones that are telling the world it's not our marketing prowess, it's all of you. So you can go on our website, you can download the little cheat sheet. There's also a page on our site where we link to all the third-party studies that show why those ingredients are bad. It's not just me saying I don't want to formulate with them, they're challenging, whatever. We actually link to all the studies that show you don't want these on your body, you don't want them in the environment. I also like to point out the reason these are so harmful for the coral and for the fish is because most of them are endocrine disrupting chemicals. What else is an endocrine disrupting chemical? BPA's in plastics, phthalates, parabens, things that we don't want on our bodies either. You don't want to be messing with your hormones. Endocrine disrupting chemicals screw with our hormones. Most of these are estrogen mimics. So if you take, so they literally stimulate estrogen, especially in undeveloped or young tissues. So if a mother is being told, pregnant woman is being told to wear sunscreen all the time, these ingredients stay in your body for a really long time. Do you really want estrogen mimics in there? It's a whole nother training. Okay, I'll shut up now. Any other questions in there?
No, no, we love this information. We also love your mentality over here. But that's awesome. I'll make sure that list gets we'll download it and make sure that list gets posted on our
Cool.
Kylomi Connections page. So it's right in our divers faces. And then hopefully we'll get, I'm sure we have those cards, but it probably
Yeah,
went right over our heads when we first got them. So I'm gonna see if we can get those at our check-in tables at both of the
awesome.
fronts. So, our new divers, our regular divers can see those, get access to it, and then actually have those in their hands. So
Cool.
we're super
I've
excited about that.
actually
Love it.
I've actually seen those cards come when I order your products and they're
Yeah.
delivered. Those cards are inside where you can see them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really because I don't, I mean, obviously I want our people to use my products, but I also want you to be able to make good choices all the way out there. And sometimes we're not available. If we're not available there, make sure that what you're buying is a good choice. And I don't think that I mean, marketing deception makes me mad when I see things, it shouldn't be so hard for the consumer to make a good choice. And today it is. It's really hard. You have to be an informed consumer. So
And I am also getting so ahead of myself because like you said, you're just putting out this new now to the new product. You're just putting out this new product where you'll have more access to research then now that this out or just starting to that research. But do you foresee this being maybe a start of once you get that data, let's like fingers crossed it is successful and it does great things and it's putting more good in our ocean than bad, which that would be amazing if we could add something to it. But do you see this for like being something to start where it could be in detergents and dishwash and all these things going down our sewers where we once had what if it fertilizers or whatever that were bad,
yeah.
but maybe this could be ingredients we're putting in our things that end up in the water no matter what. Do you see like a kind of a
I want
future
to
for that? This
I want to
goes
put
in
it
the
in
right
everything. I'm like, I
direction.
want to put it in all the things. So leave-in
Yeah.
conditioner. Do you use leave-in conditioner? I mean, I make really good leave-in conditioner.
Oh, I use yours because it's the best.
Well, thank you. So we make 1,000 kilos of that stuff at a time. I mean, I got this big old vat in the back, and we make a
Yeah, the
thousand
big one,
kilos.
that's the one I get.
The big sucker, we make it all the time. And I'm like, that needs to have the coral care nutrients in it too. I mean, it needs it, right? Our mass defog. We sell the snot out of our mass defog. It's some really good stuff. We make a lot of it. Why don't I have my coral nutrients in that? I'm testing it. So we're testing it in all the things right now. It will take us some time because
Yeah.
testing is really bloody expensive and we got to kind of catch up, but I want to put in all the things. I want in all the things.
Well, it's got to start somewhere, right?
Gotta
So we're
start
super
somewhere.
excited.
All right.
Yeah, we're super excited about it.
I'm gonna put this, okay, so we now have this little tube of sunscreen with the enormous potential for change. When it was a concept, it was a wonderful marketing group that wanted to win some awards and do good things out there. They came to me with the idea and they said, could you do this? I made it. And then they're like, okay. And they put out this press release and like, okay, so we've made this great thing. I'm like, wait, but we need the science. Oh, right, that makes sense. And they facilitated all of that testing. So they helped collaborate. They got in touch with Professor Michael Sweet. Did I already share with him? He's on another slide here. So they collaborated initially. It was completely hands off. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. He's now on our board of advisors. He was a complete skeptical. He was skeptic. He was skeptical. All right, all those words. So let's see here. Preaching to the choir on this one. We all know how important our coral reefs are, and we all know that they're getting hammered. Again, we're not going to get fatalistic. We can make a difference. Our original sunscreen is considered neutral. So we have all of these other products out here. We know that more than 85% of the sunscreens on the market today contain ecotoxins, probably more than that, but at least 85% of them contain ecotoxins. Those we would call bad. There's some out there that you really don't know. I can tell you all zinc isn't created equal. Just because something has zinc in it or just the absence of harmful chemicals does not equal safe. We learned that in our original testing. Our original sunscreen, this is now labeled as the water sport. That one is tested and proven to do no harm. So we're calling that one neutral in the RPF scheme. So you saw this in there. So the question is, could we actually add the nutrients to it? And we then did prove that this formula is actually beneficial. It is good. And it has the RPF seal of gold on there, which I think another slide will tell you about that. So we originally collaborated with Professor Michael Sweet. It was hands-off. He has all of the creds out there. He's the UN advisor for all things coral. And when he saw the results, he knew that we were really onto something good. So he established the trials with, this is the most rigorously tested sunscreen in the world now for aquatic safety. Did 18 weeks of testing, 9 tanks, the control. He wanted to compare not as a negative control, he wanted a positive control. So he did in his initial scan, said, okay, if this is actually going to be beneficial, let's compare it to the best reef safe sunscreen in the world. Now, mind you, they didn't say anything about Stream2Sea. They didn't say anything about Autumn Blum. His team went out and researched all the sunscreens. They did their scans, and he tested Coral Care against Stream2Sea, which I thought was pretty cool. When I first read the reports, I'm like, oh God, what's he doing? Oh my God, what are the results going to be? And it's pretty cool. So he found after the 16 weeks had pretty good growth. This is what I really wanted to get to. A picture tells a 1,000 words, the story on here. So on this first screen on the left, here's the control. Here's the little fragment that could, this little coral piece that we're giving it the nutrients. We're giving it a good environment and asking it to grow. And after 16 weeks, it had some pretty good growth. Compare it to Stream2Sea at the top here. After 16 weeks, there's no necrosis, there's no tissue loss, there's no sign of toxicity, and it's got some decent growth, right? Maybe a little slowed after control, but it's got some good growth. It's not doing any damage here. Now you compare it to Coral Care, and holy guacamole, what's going on here? You got some significant growth going on. And he saw that in multiple species and in multiple tanks. So replicated all the way through. And he says, we've actually turned negative into a positive.
Wow, that's awesome. Are you guys just curious? Not that I think it makes a difference. I just don't know. But are you guys testing them on like Atlantic reefs and corals, or like what kind of corals are you testing them on?
Yeah, that's on our website. I like to say that's beyond my pay grade. I can tell you all about the sunscreen side, but I'm not the coral scientist. I know Porites is one of them, just simply because I did my initial studies on Porites. So I know that's there. And there's one that begins with a G. It's a really long name, but if you really want to go that direction, you can go onto our website, go to our science, and we're sharing all the data and all the things there. So
Awesome.
McCann
Perfect.
is the marketing group, and they're the ones that wanted to spread this out into the world. And they've already won 2 pretty significant awards in Europe. They won the Cannes Lions Award and the LIA. This is kind of interesting, right? So massive PR, massive attention, massive energy on this in the rest of the world. We're not getting a lot of attention here. We're doing the press release. We're doing the same things. And the US are like, whatever. Europe's going nuts. Malaysia's going nuts over it. So we're excited wherever we can make change, but we need to make change at home too.
I'm working on this project for the better part of a year now, and it's exciting to actually see the product come to fruition. This is 850 kilos of reef positive sunscreen that is coming out in the world.
So that's our manufacturing facility. That's behind us. We are FDA registered, CGMP, that's current good manufacturing practices, inspected and certified. We make 100% of our products in our own manufacturing facility. We are one of 2 mineral sunscreen companies that I know of in the country that make their own products. The rest of them are all covered within, I think there's 4 major manufacturers in the US that make like 75 to 80% of the sunscreens. And when I first started Stream2Sea, I didn't want to be a manufacturer. So my last company, I manufactured all of our products. I sold that. I had gray hair already. I was like, I'm never doing this crap again. With all the employees, all the headaches, all the capital investment. I'm out, don't want to do it. So I make these first formulas, and through the initial testing, one of the things that I learned is cross-contamination is a really big thing. So if I'm making my products in this tank, and it could be clean, beautiful ingredients, but there's crappy ingredients in the tank next to ours, the likelihood of those ingredients ending up in my product are very strong. So you know how if you get a protein bar or a candy bar and you read the ingredients and it says maybe manufactured in a facility that contains peanuts? I think the same thing should be said for our cosmetics and skincare. Because we had our first couple of batches made with a couple of different facilities, co-packers. Most people use co-packers. And I sent them off for analytical testing, and I had parabens and benzophenones in my products. So I said, either I need to kill this idea and go do something else, or I need to make my own stuff. So we make our own stuff. And Randy, this is the reason you haven't seen me on the boat very often in the last couple of years, because I'm too busy making my stuff. I am still getting to dive, just nowhere near as much as I did 10 years ago when when I didn't have a manufacturing plant. So rambling. Okay, RPF, you may have seen that in the last video. So the new certification is called Reef Protection Factor. It's pretty cool, and I hope in the near future you're going to see it on more products. I think we tell you a little bit more about it. So in order to be RPF certified, you have to be proven to do no harm. There are now, I believe, 6 labs in the world that are accredited to give the RPF certification. It is currently managed by University of Derby in the UK, which is one of the most well-respected marine research facilities, and they're working on it. I think in the next slide we tell you this. Let's see, getting ahead of myself. So there are 3 certification levels. You've got RPF Bronze, which our original water sport formula has. So the formula that shows if you do no harm, you can get bronze certification. I believe our entire product line will have the bronze certification to it. You have silver, which is a 100-day study showing that you do no harm. The big difference between the bronze and the silver is dollars. Now you pay for I think you pay for a 7-day trial versus a 100-day trial. And then if you go on, you can actually do good. That's when you get that gold. I don't know what other products are going to have that until we share maybe the concentration of the nutrients that we're using. I do sometimes think about Volvo developed the first seat belts and it saves lives, and then they freely licensed it to everybody else in the world. I keep talking that way and my advisors keep kicking me in the shins, but we'll see who wins. So RPF is being reviewed and is being looked at very favorably by the UN and the ICRI, International Coral Reef Institute. I believe they're going to sign off on it and be co-collaborators with it because it is desperately needed. There is so much blue washing out there in the world. The words reef safe don't have meaning, but the words reef protection factor absolutely do. So it's a pretty cool study, pretty cool science, pretty cool certification that I hope we'll start to see on many more products out there in the world, including Mimi, our laundry soap, and all these other things. It will get there.
Woo!
I thank you for your time. I'm going to stop screen sharing and we can just chat from here. Awesome. There we go.
So if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or write in the side. That being said, yeah, I've been overwhelmed by the amount I see and where I see it. I'm surprised by, Coral Care is newer, so Stream2Sea, and I am shocked everywhere I go. And seeing it, how many people are on board. So once again, I think that is so cool. I couldn't be prouder of the company and starting that path, and hopefully everyone locally here starts moving more and more towards that, since we live on the water.
Right? We need to. We need to do better.
So I see Hillary wrote on the side, "Hey Adam, thank you for the chat." Her question is, she started to use the sunscreen, loves it. I'm sure we're all aware that as much as we try, somehow some full or empty products will fall off a boat or out of a bag and end up in the water. Is the packaging able to break down at all in the ocean?
I love that question, Hillary. So
Yeah,
I will
awesome question, Hillary.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'll tell you a story of our mass defog. When I first started, when I first launched the defog, I wanted to put it into, a spray bottle, right? I want a little spray cap with a little dust cap on it. And I was trying it out on a boat. I don't remember which one I was on, but I tried it out and the little dust cap popped off and rolled overboard. And I screamed and I dove into the water and I got it. I got this stupid little clear thing back and brought it back on board. And then I refused to put it in a spray bottle. I was like, nope, we're not doing it. It's going in a flip cap. I don't care if people want a sprayer. They can go buy their own. I'm not doing it. So the packaging is a big issue. We originally started using sugarcane resins. So all of our tubes, the plastic tubes that we put our products in, were made from sugarcane resins. They have a negative carbon footprint. They are fully recyclable. And the raw material resource that goes into it is sugarcane waste. So I'm like, this is pretty cool. This is what we're going to do. And later on, about 5 years in, I was watching a presentation and I realized that, yeah, it might have a carbon negative footprint and it's using bio-based materials in it, but it's plastic. I mean, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's plastic made from sugarcane. And the end game is the same as a typical plastic. So you have to recycle it. Otherwise, we're just creating new plastic in the world. And I couldn't do it anymore. So we stopped using the sugarcane resins because I couldn't justify creating new plastic. And we switched over to PCR, which is post-consumer recycled content. Now, from a consumer standpoint, I had people yelling at me for that. They're like, oh, it must be cheaper. No, it actually isn't cheaper, but you must be cheapening it or somebody else making your decisions because there's no way you'd go from this plant-based product over to a real plastic. I mean, that's just plastic, right? But it's giving plastic a second chance at a good ending. So the plastics that we're using are marine recycled plastics, which means that they're either collected directly from the oceans or the coastlines within like 5 miles of the shore in order to get certified with a GRS, Global Recycled Standard Ocean Bound Plastic Certification. And it's recycling that material. So things that are being disposed of improperly are now getting a second chance, and then hopefully they'll be recycled again, right? So that's what we're currently using. I've been playing with, there's the cardboard tubes. I'm sure you guys have seen the little cardboard sticks and such. And we have lip balms, which are also made out of PCR, post-consumer recycled content. We have those. The kicker that I found on all of the biodegradable packaging is that when you take this biodegradable product, they put a coating inside of it. So the product, it doesn't biodegrade when the product's filled in it. But when you take that and you throw it in your dive bag and it gets wet, guess what happens? It starts to biodegrade. And every one that I've trialed in my world has made a mess. So I haven't gone that direction. I would love to. I would absolutely love to figure out a way to go that direction, but I haven't yet. So we're always working on it. We're always trying. If somebody finds a better way, I want to know about it. But we've played with glass, and then you think about being on the boats and you don't want the glass. And we have our new zinc balm. I don't know if you guys have seen this one yet, but it's in the aluminum. It's in an aluminum jar, and it's a balm. It's like a solid product, and it's my new favorite. I mean, Coral Care, mwah, I love you. I hope the zinc balm will become RPF and Coral Care certified as well because I love the zinc balm. But the balm is made in an infinitely recyclable aluminum tin. So there's no plastic, and you can use it for anything else, and it's fully recyclable, and you can continue to recycle it. So that's the best that we have right now, in my opinion. Let's talk about product application for a minute, because this is one of the biggest complaints that I hear or pushbacks is, I don't want to look like Casper the Friendly Ghost. I get it. I don't want to either. Or the person put it on the boat and they had it everywhere and everybody's pointing their fingers and laughing at him. First off, please don't laugh at that guy because he's like doing good for the world, right? We look at him and say, rock on, you do it, buddy. You do you. Give him a fist bump. But you have to apply mineral sunscreens different than you would the chemical stuff. So we were all taught growing up, apply liberally and apply often. And you take that tube and you squirt it out and it goes, you get this big old glob and you rub it around, you smear it on, you rub it on your arms, and it's like, okay, I got too much. Here, honey, I'm going to put it on you, right? It spreads everywhere. The mineral sunscreens don't do that. It's basically chalk in a lotion format. So if you put a big old glob right here on your face, guess what? This big old glob is going to stay right in your face and you're going to hate it. So don't do that. The best way to apply a mineral sunscreen is you do a little bit in sections, and a little goes a really long way. The FDA, again, regulates everything that I say on the back. And on the back, it says apply liberally. And I'm sitting here saying, yeah, the FDA says apply liberally. Please don't apply liberally. Please don't apply liberally. So you take a pea-size amount and you can either rub it in your hands, right? Press it onto your face, blend, take another pea-size amount, pat it onto your upper arm, rub, right? So you get the idea here. Pat, 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 rub. It spreads really well that way. Or you can do the dot method. So you take that pea-size amount, go dot, 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 put dots all over your face, and then blend. What you don't want is a big glob in one spot. Make sense? If you apply it that way, you won't look stupid. People won't point and laugh at you. It will not make your mask slip. It won't get all over your gear. Not going to burn your eyes. How many of us have been underwater where you're sitting there going like that? The chemical sunscreens are severe eye irritants. It won't do that to you either. And it's not going to make you break out. So that's the way to apply mineral sunscreen. If you want zero white cast, use that zinc balm. You can over apply it, and at first you are going to look a little stupid because you got white everywhere, but you can keep on rubbing and that will blend in. It'll look wonderful. Your skin's going to thank you for it. It feels like butter on your face. So nice. So the zinc balm has zero white cast. So even if you have a beautiful melanin rich skin, you got really dark complexion, that's the one that'll still look really good on you. The everyday as well. The everyday's not so whitening either.
And we do have the balm one on K1 at least right now, just because that's what I was on yesterday. So if you guys haven't tried it, definitely next time you're on the boat, take a little, try it out. And then we can get some if you want to take some home for sure. And a lot of that we have, I think the comfort care or the coral care at our front. So we have the other ones on the boat just because we've had them, we've been using them. But the other one's at the front. So next time you go diving, definitely look out for it because they're around for sure. And then Hillary says, is there potential for Coral Care shimmer sunscreen? I love the shimmer too. It's like one of my favorite. It's the one I have at home currently.
Yeah.
And
So
that
much
was just
fun.
fun for me working on the boat, kind of having that. So what do you think?
So you know what that shimmer comes from?
I don't remember. I know that it's like an organic shimmer, but I
Yeah.
don't remember what it was.
So I had a raw material supplier come walking into my office a couple years ago and was like, Autumn, I've got this ingredient, you're gonna love it. When they gave me the materials, I thought of you immediately. And here I am, here's all the data, and it's 98% plastic free. I'm like, 98%, huh? What's the other 2%? And like, nobody asked that. We don't ask that. It's biodegradable. It's certified biodegradable. It's 98% plastic free. I'm like, yep, 2%. I'm like, yeah, it's freaking microplastic, right? So if you see bio glitter on somebody's label, microplastic, no good.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So if you're walking on the beach at night or like sunset and you see the wet sand and you see all the little diamonds in the sand, that's borosilicate, and that's what's in the shimmer. So that's what we use. It's borosilicate. It's a really crushed fine particle sand that we put inside the shimmer. And is there potential for Coral Care shimmer? Absolutely, there's potential for it. We're right now testing the Everyday Active, which is the base. And once we have that, then we can proceed on to the other ones without making me go broke.
Woo, more to come.
So I would like to say thank you for having a company that has a conscience and is focused on protection, and even more so than protection, actually helping the coral build now. I think that's really exciting. We've been using the products for our family's been using the products for years. We take them with us everywhere. The mask defog is just a standard part of our kit when we go
Awesome.
diving. So thank you for that. My question is more around kind of enforcement of the bans, because I've been, I think, to most of the countries on
Right.
your list there. And while I know there's bans, when I go shore diving or when I'm on boats, I see some of the what I call the bad sunscreen or the
Right.
other ones, right? And uh, I know it's probably a touchy subject and it's probably pretty hard to enforce the bans, I would imagine, unless you're going through people's luggage and stuff. But are you in any discussions with these countries about products and the enforcement of the bans themselves? I'm curious to know how that's playing out.
Yeah, there's it's actually Bonaire was one of the first ones that also implemented and got great publicity on implementing the ban. So they voted, they enacted the ban. They do not enforce it at all. And if you go onto their store shelves, they're literally on their store shelves. They're still banned, but they're on the store shelves because there's no enforcement. So I've always been, I mean, I'm all for the legislation. I want to see them banned everywhere. I think the FDA should ban them. That'll never happen. I'd love to see it happen, but I'm also a big fan of education over legislation. I think that people want to do good. I mean, in general, I think the majority of people are good and we want to do good if it's easy for us and we understand it. So it's all about, that's where I think the educators of the sea come in. That's where the dive industry can make change, is when you see somebody, we can have real conversations with people. Do you know what those ingredients are? Do you know what they do? We don't have to shame them, but once somebody understands, they want to do better. And if you can give them a product that is equally as good or better, that's always my goal. If you can give them something that's equally as good or better, and it's readily available, I think people want to make good choices. Then you have to go and be like, well, yeah, but it's $25, man. I can buy that big old jug of NOAD for $8.95. Well, yeah, but you're going to use that big old jug of Nomad on 1 week's vacation. Whereas I don't know about you, but I can take this on, it's going to last me and my husband a week, and I'm going to have more left over to share with the people on the boat. It's concentrated. So you have to teach people. I wish that the legislation would make a difference. I don't know, man. We've got there's a permit during that CARES Act, that COVID sunscreen legislation that came out. My permit went from $1,000 a year. This year it's $44,000. 5 years, 5 years went from $1,000 to $44,000. And I'm like, this is craziness. I got my congressman to write a bill 2 years ago called the Small Business Sunscreen Act provision, because it's the only FDA, it's the only government permit that doesn't have a small business provision. The only one like this, it's a user fee that doesn't have a small business provision. If I was making medical devices, Johnson & Johnson pays their $500,000. The little guy pays $1,000. This one, I pay the same that Johnson & Johnson does. There's no provision for it. So he wrote a bill to counter that, and he calls and he says, I'm sorry, Autumn. He says, I'm not going to get any support to pass this bill in the legislature. He says, the day that I introduced the bill, I had a dozen lobbyists in my office. He said, I've never seen such political activity for something in my life. Well, when we made so much noise in Hawaii, guess how much money the chemical industry lost selling sunscreen in Hawaii? Because education, those people are passionate, they're informed. And if you try walking on their boat with a chemical-based sunscreen, they're going to shame you. You're going to be chewed out pretty hard. So they've lost a ton of money on it. And the chemical industry is working very hard to shut up companies like ours and make it difficult to stay in business. That's why there's only 2 manufacturers left. Before this, there was at least a dozen that I knew of. And now I'm one of 2. You know, they're making it really hard on the little guy. And I don't think you're going to see legislation help much. I think it's all about the education. I think it's up to us to make a difference. And we can. We're noisy. We're passionate. We can do it. You're muted, darling.
I said Lindsay just backed you up there. If you can see in the comments, she said when she went to Hawaii, a lot of the stores weren't carrying those products, and how cool that was to see.
Yeah.
So literally just aligned right there. And then you mentioned Hawaii, so that was cool to hear.
Blue coral prints, matching leggings. We have 1 pair of leggings with blue coral prints. We only have 1 color at this point, but it's blue and coral print, so go check it out. And they're made with marine recycled plastics, because I love recycling plastics out of the ocean.
And Autumn, I want to say thank you for going in depth in these questions. You say not wanting to get into politics, and as nicely as we can, this is the information, the education we need as a Publix, as locals here, to things that care about us, to really grasp and understand why this isn't being done, why this is hard, what this is. So, I can't thank you enough for this education, and really being truthful, which means factual, which means, and especially for you, science-based, which is such a huge thing in this industry with our species and our oceans, and that research, to not just scream the loudest, but to show the truth, which is science-based. So we're actually doing the right thing. So once again, just answering even Randy's question, thank you so much for educating us on that. I'm excited to pass this on to our divers, and be on our website so people can really get that education and understand what's happening. And it's made me, even sitting here, that much more of a warrior for it, and and a supporter of coral care and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
That's what we need. Thank you so much. The one last thing that I will share with you on how to get the people, one thing that I've heard from boat operators is you've got to get them before they get on the boat, because most people that we're trained, you put on sunscreen before you leave your room. So if they've already did that big old aerosol, whatever, they've got the toxic crap on them, and now they're jumping on the boat, they're putting the toxic ingredients into our environment. We know 62 parts per trillion is relevant, tiny. Your application can make a difference for our oceans, right? So we can make a difference. You've got to get them before they get on the boat. So that's where I think your trip confirmations come into play. And the people in the dive centers, it's not necessarily just a sales tactic, but when somebody's booking a trip, what sunscreen are you planning to use? We prefer that you only use reef safe products when you're visiting a marine sensitive area. Only use this. You can add it to your trip confirmations. You can add it to your lingo when people are going out the door. Number one, it will increase your revenue and it will help impact our waters or protect them. So I'm grateful for your passion. Thank you. And I hope everybody listening here helps tell a friend and share the message, because together we can do better.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And, thanks for bringing that to our attention. I know at Kyalami, there's always things we can do better. And just like you guys over there, hopefully we continue to take steps to do that. So all these reminders are absolutely great and can't thank you enough. And thank you for everyone for joining us. We will have this link. So if you want the link to share with friends, you can always email me at mimi@thescuba club. But please go check out the website. We do have products here. But I would love for you guys to support Stream2Sea and the new one, Coral Care. And any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I can always get in touch with Autumn and get you guys the answer you need. Again, Autumn, thank you one more time. Thank you for always supporting the divers as well. She constantly gives us free samples for stuff all year. And as we continue to do stuff this year, she already mentioned Women's Dive Day. So hopefully we're going to have more products on the boat for you guys to test. And then we'll have our Lionfish Derby. I know that was rescheduled. I'm actually looking at September, so you guys can enter your tails August or September, so you guys can enter your tails in the FWC competition. So I know some of you are excited about that. So I'm changing stuff around, and she's already given some samples and products for that. So I'm also excited to connect everything together, from what we do to our dives to things we need to be doing every day. And Autumn is a great example of that. So thank you again. Thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you soon. And Autumn, hopefully see you on the boat and you get a breath
I'm
to breathe.
coming.
So we'll take you out there anytime.
Sounds wonderful. I can't wait. Can't wait to see you on the boat. And meet all of our
Awesome.
friends. Thanks again for the invite.